Welcome to Tea and Tarot with me, your host, Yashna. Each week I'll share what I've learned as I dive deeper into the world of tarot. I've got my cards in front of me, my cup of tea, and I can't wait to share this journey with you. This is Tea and Tarot.
Welcome back to Tea and Tarot with me, your host, Yashna. I am so excited to share that we are going to be continuing on our journey of the major arcana and breaking down a new card this week. I know it's been a hot sec since I've broken down a card, so if you've been waiting on that, I apologize. There was just so much other content going on with the holiday breaks in between, the big New Year spread I did with one of my friends, which was so much fun, and I cannot wait to see how that really pans out this year. And then, of course, last week's episode for anyone who tuned in, which was my first breakdown of an album as tarot cards. And for the first one, I did Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. If you are a fan of tarot and a fan of Sabrina, it's the perfect video to watch because it combines those two things. And if you don't like either, you should check it out anyways, because it is probably one of my favorite videos that I've made to date. I spent a really long time putting it together because it took a couple weeks to really listen to each song in detail, figure out which tarot card I think best links to that song, best links to those lyrics, then writing out the script that I had to explain the cards, explain the songs, share a little bit of lore in the background, all from the gossip mill. But after that, then it was recording, then it was editing, and that is probably the most editing I've done for a video yet, just because there were so many more visuals that were getting added in. I'm breaking down 14 songs, so there's 14 cards, 14 songs, lots of different visuals. As I was sharing some of the lore, I pulled visuals for that off of the internet, so it was one of the biggest videos, one of the biggest undertakings I'd done since starting this podcast, I think, but it was so much fun, and I am definitely going to do more. I am already working on the next one, so check it out, let me know what you think, and definitely stay tuned for more because there will be more coming. But in the meantime, we are jumping back to the major arcana. We're going to keep going on this journey. We need to keep learning about these cards, or maybe not I need to keep learning about these cards, because the more I dive into it, the more layers that just get added to each of these cards, and it's really cool to see. So today I will be talking about the Heirophant and breaking down everything that comes with this card. And afterwards, I will be doing a tarot reading for one of my friends. So let's jump into it. Okay, the Hierophant, hierophant. There are a couple different ways it has been pronounced over time. I think all of them are pretty much correct. I'm sorry if my pronunciation irks anyone, but I do read it as Heirophant, and that's just how I'm going to keep reading it as I do this. As we do this breakdown, I've got my usual matcha with me, got my tea, I'm ready. So, looking at the Heirophant, historically, this card has always been seen as a religious one in the deck, and often depicted the Pope. In earlier decks, the card was instead called the Pope or the High Priest. The depiction is a bit different in the Light Seers deck, but traditionally has represented the power held by the Pope. When tarot was invented, the Pope was more than just a religious leader. He controlled the politics and military for a large portion of central Italy, known as the Papal States. There's a lot of notes that while the Magician and the High Priestess are counterparts to each other, especially on the Major Arcana journey, the High Priestess is also a counterpart to the Hierophant because they served the Popess and Pope, respectively. In the Tarot de Marseille deck, he even wore a red cape and blue robe that was to complement the papesse who wore a blue cape and red robe. Antoine Court de Guesclin changed the depiction of the Pope to the Hierophant in order to de-Christianize the deck, as he believed the origins of the deck came from Egypt and should better reflect that. The Hierophant was the title of the chief priest in Eleusinian Mysteries, which was the ancient Greek ritual to initiate members into the following of Demeter and Persephone, who are two Greek goddesses. The Hierophant as a term and as a word also means someone who introduces others to holiness. So keep that in mind as we break down this card. All of that applies to it and already kind of gives you insight to what this means when it's drawn in a reading. Moving into more modern depictions of the Hierophant, he's seen as a bridge between heaven and earth, serving as a spiritual guide for the people on earth. As a priest, he also officiates weddings, connecting people in a physical and spiritual union. He's also a symbol of education, providing teachings on how to pursue a more spiritual path and tap into your more religious beliefs. Looking at the Rider-Waite deck, the Hierophant is depicted very closely to the original papal depiction. He's wearing a red cloak over a blue robe and is very much reminiscent of a religious leader. He wears a papal crown, or a triple crown that represents the Holy Trinity. He holds a papal staff that also represents the Holy Trinity, as well as a bridge between heaven and earth. The crossed keys represent the keys to the kingdom of heaven given to St. Peter by Jesus. The priest's hand gestures is a blessing to see what is hidden from clear view. The red cloak represents energy and action, or the material world, and the red roses symbolize love, and the white lilies represent purity. So that is the Rider-Waite depiction of the Hierophant. Moving on to the Light Seers deck, the depiction of the Hierophant is much closer to a guru rather than a pope or a priest. So kind of more of a generic religious leader. In the card, there's a man sitting in front of a staircase ascending into the heavens. And I am going to read the story that is in the Light Seers extended guidebook, Tarot for the Light Seer. And this is kind of just the story that is in this card, that's represented in this card. The Hierophant is the keeper of the sacred, and he sits at the steps of a spiritual pilgrimage. Every stair is a lesson that is unique to the individual who walks the path. He has always known that his primary path in life was to show others the doorway, and he sits smiling at the base of a step-by-step spiritual journey, welcoming guests with open arms. Hieros is a Greek word meaning sacred, and phant has its roots in the Greek to show. As he warmly greets those who arrive, he reminds them of their own divine makeup. You are made of God's stuff, he calls out, fashioned with the same forces of creation that inspired the stars. As an awakened master, he is the personification of the gateway between the divine source and the people he serves. He holds in his mind's eye the energies of all religions, and he recognizes that, organized or not, there's a deep wisdom at the heart of all spiritual teachings. It's the people who fail us, he winks. He lives a life of humility and service, but always in a way that demonstrates self-love. His t-shirt displays the prongs of the original Hierophant's Trinity scepter because he openly holds admiration for the old gods and for the many wondrous faces of the divine that speckle our expanding universe. In the card, there are spiritual symbols floating around the Hierophant's head for oneness, non-denominational welcome, spiritual teachings, wisdom, and paths. The papal cross on his shirt nods back to the Holy Trinity and his link to the divine. The stairs are a bridge between the divine and the mundane and serve as a path to enlightenment. And the mandala at the top of the staircase is the divine gateway. So those are all the symbols that are in both of the cards. Jumping into the meaning of the cards, The message provided in the Rider-Waite deck is, make the most of your gifts. In the Light Seers deck, the general message is, I am my own guru. The guidance I need is rooted in my faith, my belief, and my unique essence. The second message shared is, as a seeker, you hold the power to vibrate with a little more light as you ascend upwards. Up towards the one cosmic love that shines down and illuminates the path for us of all. Generally, this card is representative of revisiting your faith, taking time to learn something new, and evaluating your framework and how you perceive things. In the forward position, the Hierophant represents powerful lessons, a spiritual leader and guide, time to focus on your faith, an awakening or enlightenment, finding your own path, and transformation or transcendence. In the reverse, it means that old systems could be holding you back, and you might need to let go of old teachings. It could mean rebelling against societal norms, needing to connect back to your faith. It could also mean ego-based leadership, abuse of power, or stagnation. I won't repeat all of the general meanings as I kind of tie this to different types of readings you can do, but to kind of touch on how the meaning can shift based on the type of reading you're doing. In a love reading, it could signify marriage, traditional paths, and commitment. If you're single, it could maybe mean that there's something new coming where your goals and values align with each other, or where you really need to focus on whether your values do align properly. When you're doing a money and career reading, this card focuses more on the leadership aspects. It could mean evaluating the leadership around you or your own leadership styles and how they're conveyed to those around you. It could also mean it's a good time to seek a new mentor or to take on that opportunity and provide guidance to others. In a health reading, it can mean turning to conventional medicine or taking time to exercise and begin a new health routine. Not a bad idea with the New Year's. And lastly, for spirituality, this entire card is about spirituality, so I'm not going to expand on that further. That's really like the biggest meaning you get when you see this card. So that's pretty much all I have. I don't have tons of trivia or random tidbits to share around the Heirophant, but I am glad that we are getting back into this routine. I'm excited to start breaking down more of the major Arcana cards. I'll be honest, the Heirophant is not one of my favorite cards in the deck, so I think part of the delay was also not disinterest, but the lack of motivation to really get to this card and start breaking it down. But I'm glad I did. I've learned a lot about it, and I'm excited to keep moving it along. I'm going to take a short break, and then I will be back to do a reading with my friend. So stay tuned. Okay, we're here for our reading for today's episode, and today I am joined by probably my oldest friend that I've had, because we've known each other since 2nd grade, but became friends in 8th grade. But yeah, I'm here with my friend Min Chao.
Hello, everyone. I'm Min Chao. So excited to be here. I've been a fan since day one.
Fake! You haven't even listened to the show.
I'm waiting for season 1 to come out.
Waiting for the full season 1 to drop.
And then I'm going to binge the whole podcast.
Are you going to buy it on DVD to listen to it all?
No, but I'll download it on Spotify.
Good. We're going to do a reading together. Before we do the reading, I only started doing this with my mom, but I realized I should ask some questions to different guests who come on. But have you had a tarot reading done before?
I have. I've had one tarot card reading done before, I think.
Was it like someone on the strand, a friend, a shop?
It was by Rebob, so she did it. Yeah, so she had done mine, Pauline, and Paulina's, and it was really accurate for all three.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why I don't do this often.
You're scared.
It was too powerful.
And you've never done a tarot reading for someone else, right?
No.
Or had your own deck or anything?
No.
So you are a believer that the tarot is real?
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, it's okay.
I think it's up to the person, the drawer, though. Like if you're good at it or not.
Oh, okay.
And Rabob is really good.
Rabob is good.
Yeah,
because she did a reading for me once, and
it's
it was
always
really
so
good.
accurate. Hers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it also is a bit dependent on the person doing it and how open you are to the idea of it. But it is very dependent on who does the readings. Because Rabob and I used to do these like tea and tarot sessions where we'd each pull cards for ourselves, but the way we would interpret it for each other was very different than how we interpreted it ourselves.
Right.
Because everyone reads the cards a little differently too.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. And if you think I'm as good as her,
Oh, of course, you're better.
no, it's okay. As I say on this pod a lot, I am an amateur tarot reader, so it's okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna shuffle the deck a bit, reset it from the last time I did a reading. I think for today's we can fan out the cards and draw that way. But we're doing a love reading together. Always a popular reading, especially with friends. But now take the cards and you'll just shuffle it. And anyway, like it doesn't have to be great shuffling, but just like kind of moving the cards around while thinking about love, like thinking about that question and prompt on your mind.
Like I have to come up with a question.
It doesn't have to be a specific question, like we can do a general love spread, but just thinking about that as you're shuffling it.
Think about love.
Or like, oh, what will happen in the future? Or what should I be doing?
Okay.
Like, what is it like you're trying to answer?
Okay. Like, do I have to tell the mic?
You don't have to.
Okay, what's in the cards for me for love? Okay.
For today's, we're gonna do it as a fan spread. So the cards are just fanned out, and you're just gonna pull 3 cards, whichever 3 cards call to you, and just like pick it and put it in the same orientation here.
Okay.
And 3. Cool. So 3 cards are drawn. So we're just doing a general 3-card spread. So each of the cards doesn't necessarily mean anything on its own, but together will kind of be a picture of it. So the first card is the Ace of Swords. It's kind of interesting.
Okay. Also, Yashna knows the full context of my love life, so this is gonna be a biased review, possibly.
Not necessarily. I can't pick which cards get pulled. Okay. I'm just gonna flip them all over first.
Okay.
And like, I know I've been like getting more and more familiar with cards, but I still have to refer to like the booklet for the full definitions. But I know the Ace of Swords is about like vision and clarity.
Okay.
And like being able to see kind of the truth.
Okay.
Ace of Wands, another ace card. This one is more about innovation and creativity, but both aces are about new beginnings. And then 5 of Swords in the reverse position. And the 5 of Swords, I think, is about heartache or something.
But reversed.
But reversed.
So not heartache, by the way, viewers.
Okay, give me a moment. Let me look at this, and I'll break it down for you real again. Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
You look so nervous.
Dude, interesting is not a good way to say things.
I say interesting to everything. I'm sorry. It's who I am. Okay, as it's a general spread, I'll like kind of break down like what the cards mean and how I kind of relate it to love,
Okay.
and also just generally to what I know about you. And I think some of them are more kind of, usually when I do these, I'll do kind of current state, what will help you to the future, and like an obstacle in different orders. And I think these kind of do fall in those categories. So the first two being Ace cards is really interesting because Ace is the first in the series of Minor Arcana. So it's usually representative of something new beginnings, starting over in some capacity. The swords are, and there's two swords, and swords are more representative of betrayal, being hurt in the past, and that influencing your future and how you move forward. So with the Ace of Swords, that card on its own is about clarity, truth, being able to see the future ahead of you better. The notes that kind of come with that is that you're able to kind of get this quiet insight and a clear path in front of you of what you need, what you're looking for, what success is going to be for you. So as it has to do with love, it's about like figuring out what exactly it is you want from a relationship, figuring out what that looks like and seeing it more clearly, and it not being clouded by other things, not being clouded by past relationships, and really figuring what that means for you. The Ace of Wands is also about new beginnings, but in a different respect, where the swords are kind of taking from wounds from the past to move forward. The wands are more about passion and creativity. So the Ace of Wands is more representative of manifesting your desires and being able to make what you want happen with your own skill sets and what you have at your disposal right now. It is really representative of new ideas, new passions, high creativity. So it could mean that you have what you need to manifest your relationship in the future, or it could mean focusing more on some of your creative side and focusing on more of your own passions, and that will naturally help lead you to a relationship in the future, or like that will be like your focus to help you move forward. And then the last card, the Five of Swords, is typically a card that has to do with conflict and experiencing loss. And in the reverse position, it usually has to do more with kind of deceit around you, people not being truthful or feeling guilty about how you have handled relationships or gone into them in the past. But really, it brings about that you are looking for some peace. It means you might have experienced some unexpected loss and feel sore from it, but taking those lessons and moving forward, you will find that peace and you will figure out what the future looks like for you, as long as you remember what happened and keep those lessons in mind and kind of accept that part that left you sore. So that's my 3 cards, friend.
No, that's a really good reading. Oh, it's okay. Should I reflect?
If you want to, you can reflect if you'd like. You don't have to.
I think it's interesting that it's 2 aces and then 2 swords. I didn't notice that these were both swords, so that's cool. I think pulling out the 5 of swords, I was like, oh, that looked like the bad card that my friend pulled. I was like, that doesn't look like a good card. But yeah, I think all 3 cards tied in well with my life. I think it's interesting this middle one was pulled, the Ace of Wands, because I think like when I'm single, I do start to tend focusing in on my hobbies, and my hobbies are always like arts and crafts, creative endeavors, so I think that rings really true as well.
Yeah, and I think like overall as a reading, it is interesting with the suits because usually cups are more around romantic relationships. So like there's no cups in the reading.
Is
so
this
it
like
is
Paulina again, like focus on yourself, queen.
It's like Ace of Wands is about your own creativity and your own passions and what you want to manifest. And then Ace of Wands is about figuring out like what it is you want and finding that clarity. And with just like knowing your past relationships and being I guess not like freshly newly single, but like still kind of being newly single, I think like it is a spread saying to kind of focus on yourself and figure out what it is you want from relationships and how to heal from the past. Like the Five of Swords is about you have experienced some loss. There was some deceit in your relationship, something that kind of left you sore and really hurt you. And moving past that, you need to figure out how you accept that or how you move forward with it and what you take into your next relationship. So it is a bit of a, yes, take this time to focus on yourself.
Oh my gosh, has anyone pulled a cups?
I've pulled cups when I've done love readings for myself.
Oh, okay. So
But every time I'm like, I don't have any cups in my life though.
So that means you need to take that step forward.
Yeah. My love readings have kind of been like, yeah, maybe
you should really go for it.
You should go for it. Paulina's was very career focused.
Everyone else is like,
yours
don't
is like,
go for it.
But it is interesting because it is kind of tailored to each person. Like,
Right.
we've talked about, like, oh, needing time to yourself. And then all of these are more introspective cards. Or starting something new, really, and starting over, which is pretty reflective of where you are. But Paulina was like, oh, yeah, very career-focused with pentacle cards. Because pentacles are usually more around business and career.
Right.
So she had a lot of pentacles.
Right.
So I was like, okay, yeah, that's what that means. But I have pulled cups in relationship readings before.
Right.
But I think it also just depends where people are at.
Right. Okay, I'd say this was pretty accurate.
Cool. Thanks for joining. And thanks for doing a reading with me. This was fun. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Join me next week as we continue on this journey with the Major Arcana. We are going to keep it going, and next week I will be breaking down the Lovers, Major Arcana card number 6. See you next week. Thank you for listening to Tea and Tarot with Yashna. This episode was produced, hosted, and edited by me, Yashna Bensel, and brought to you by Tea Time Podcasts. The tarot reading was done using the Light Seers deck by Chris Ann, and all card visuals were from the Light Seers deck and the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Research was done using Wikipedia, The Ultimate Guide to Tarot by Liz Dean, Tarot for Light Seers by Chris Ann, and many, many Google searches. Music was made using SoundRaw. Join me next week for another episode of Tea and Tarot.